Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India. Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone. Today we are here to hear from some experts in the field of aircraft maintenance on what are the key challenges in maintaining both a transport aircraft, as well as towards the end we will talk about challenges in maintaining military aircraft. And to discuss these aspects with me, we have a very distinguished and very experienced panel of experts. So I will request our panel members to talk very briefly about their background and experience, starting with Mr. Manmohan Chawla ji.
Hello everybody. Yes, I joined aviation in 1979 after my graduation in physics from the Mumbai University, and I joined Air India, retired from there in 2013, and thereafter in life 2.0 I believe it's payback time, so I'm devoting my time to aeronautical engineering studies and a member of the Aeronautical Society of India, and from there on we are now in the process of disseminating information to youngsters and to the layman about what aviation is in the country.
So Chawla ji, during your experience in Air India, were you working on different aircraft models?
Yes, Dr. Pant. I have worked on a lot of aircraft, right from the Boeing 707, 737, 747, all variants, 777s and the 787. So these are the types of aircraft I worked on.
And did you also have a chance to be posted outside the country somewhere?
Yes, I have had the privilege of working in lands across the world, in starting with the North Americas, Africas, the Asian continent. It's been a lovely time.
Oh, so you have been virtually all over the world.
Thank you, yes.
Okay. Next we move on to Mr. Vivek Kulkarni, who had a very distinguished career in the Air Force, and he'll speak about himself.
Hello everyone. Myself Vivek Kulkarni. I had worked in Indian Air Force for 20 years as an aircraft engineer. Thereafter, I have completed my BAMAC from DGCA, and as a senior instructor, I am working with prestigious AME Institute now and training the aircraft maintenance engineering students. And I came across the civil aircrafts as well as defense aircrafts in my career.
And Kulkarni ji also is very active with the Aeronautical Society of India. As you can see, he's wearing with pride the badge of the Aero Society of India.
Yes,
of course,
sir.
we all are members of that, and we are all actively involved.
I am working as an honorary secretary of Aeronautical Society of India, Mumbai branch. So.
Okay. Moving on, we have one of the most experienced persons in this field, Shri Ajay Kumar Bahadur ji. So please talk about yourself a bit.
My name is Ajay Bahadur, and I joined aviation way back in 1956, and there I am from Bihar. My engineering experience started from the Bihar Flying Club in those days. I got my AME license from Bihar Flying Club Patna, and then I qualified in all the light aircraft over there for engines and airframes. From Patna I came to Bombay, joined Air India, and worked in Air India in maintenance as an aircraft maintenance engineer for 5 years. after which I got a lateral transfer as a flight engineer in Air India, where I worked for nearly 20 years, after which I went to Mauritius and I flew over there for 5 years. After coming back from there, I have retired as a flight engineer, but then my passion for aviation continued and I joined the Bombay Flying Club as a chief instructor over there, and I continued teaching students of aircraft maintenance engineering for the next about 14 years. Now I have finally not doing an active work, but I still go and take 3 days a week lectures in the Bombay Flying Club.
Wonderful. So such a huge amount of experience right from 1956 when I was not even born. Great. That's wonderful. So we are here to discuss the challenges of maintaining an aircraft so that it can give safe facility for transporting passengers. And there are many queries, doubts, curiosities in the minds of the general public as well as in the minds of experts. So we will take up those queries one by one. So let me start with a very general question which I will address to each of these experts in a sequence, starting with Mr. Chawla. So Chawla ji, maintenance is done by everyone, even for their scooters, for their cars, and also there are people who do maintenance of aircraft. Could you tell us what are the key differences between maintaining an aircraft and maintaining, let's say, a transport vehicle?
One of the key differences of maintaining an aircraft and a motor vehicle is the aspect of safety in an aviation scenario, in an aircraft. That's simply because in a vehicle you can park yourself anytime, you can get off at any time, but in an aeroplane you cannot. If you take off from a point A, you're going to land in point B, and you have to be safe and secure in that environment of the flight. So that's the key difference, is the quality and the safety of the aircraft cannot be compromised under any circumstances. Though of course I don't mean to say that of course you can compromise on a ground vehicle, but it's much more enhanced in an aviation scenario.
Okay, so that is one thing. Kulkarni ji, would you like to add something?
Surely, sir.
To this? Yeah.
See, in general, maintenance like car and all, there is no such schedule. There are some schedule specification, but here is a specific schedule. Some of the tasks are lighter, some of the tasks are heavier. So it has been divided into schedule. It's not as per the kilometer how much it runs. It is not as per the hours it is running, but it is also taken up into the cycles. Aircraft as taking off and landing, particularly that time also they have to check. In between also they have to check. So various checks are being scheduled, like A check, B check, C check. There are schedule wise checks are there in the and there is regulatory body is going to lay down this check. They have to specifically follow their checks.
Okay, so there is much more regulation in place.
Yes.
And it is actively pursued in all aspects of maintenance.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Bahadur, would you like to add something more to this?
Yes, one aspect that is very important is the manpower who does the maintenance. And that manpower has to be technically and professionally qualified. So it takes years for the person to get trained to work with his own hands in a manner which does not compromise safety in any manner. So working on an aircraft is different from working in other transport vehicles like cars or anything like that. With an aircraft you will have to work in a prescribed manner using very, very correct methodology of treatment to the equipment that you are working on. And it only comes after lot of work, lot of experience, and you go through that grind, and as you gain experience you become more and more efficient in your work. So initially when you start working you may take 1 hour to do a particular job, but after many years of doing that job you may be able to do it in half an hour. That means you have become more efficient with your hands. And it is a hands-on job, you have got to do it with your own hands.
Okay. So that means not anyone can simply start doing aircraft maintenance. There must be some minimum qualifications, and also I believe there is some licensing, there is some
Yes.
certification. So, Mr. Bahadur, can you start by because you teach also in the flying club. If I am a young, enthusiastic student and I want to become an aircraft maintenance engineer or technician, what is the qualification required and how is it obtained?
Basically, the student who comes and who is interested in this profession, he has to show an inclination towards liking their job. Because if you enjoy your work, you will do it in a most efficient manner. That is one thing. And then in the classroom, we try to instill in the student's mind that aviation is a very, very structured profession in which there is no room for any error. You cannot make a mistake in this because mistake can become deadly. So we teach the students how he should start thinking, and we instill a sense of curiosity within the student to understand how an aircraft flies and what makes an aircraft which weighs so many tons to go into the air. It is, once you understand the theory of it, it becomes very interesting. And the more you learn, the more you want to learn. That is what we instill, this kind of feeling in the student, and then he becomes more and more interested. He goes to the library more often, he asks us more questions, and that shows us the temperament of the student in becoming a good man in the aviation.
Okay. So, Chalaji, let me ask you, you joined Air India after doing your studies in physics. So, is it that from day one you began working on the aircraft, or there was a waiting period? How is it normally?
At that time when I joined aviation, we were put on the aircrafts under supervision by our seniors. And at the same time, we used to spend 50% of the time minimum in classrooms, where we were taught the importance and the basics of the aviation network, how we to go about it. So we were trained and we were brought up in an environment where we learned about aircraft maintenance, not only from our peers, but also from the education material provided to us and hands-on experience on the aircrafts.
Okay. So, Kulkarni ji,
Haan, sir.
today if a student wants to become an aircraft maintenance engineer,
Yes.
what kind of course, at what level, what are the requirements?
So basic requirement as per regulatory body says that some students has to complete 12th science with the physics, chemistry, maths background, or they can be from diploma background from aeronautical, mechanical and electrical.
Okay.
This requirement is to be there, and some percentage criteria like 45% of criteria they have mentioned, it should be met with as per specification.
Okay.
So this is the basic minimum requirement. Even the students after completing engineering, they can do this course, but it is a laid down course, it's a license course. So they have to rigorously get trained in this, some 4 hours as per there are categories laid down. In this aircraft, B1.1 is called as a heavy aircraft maintenance and B2 is called as a avionics. It's not that one person is can do both, they are category wise divided. So they can take up the stream as per the requirement and as per their willing.
Okay. So, what is this course called? You mentioned that you earned BAMEC degree. So, what is BAMEC?
Basic Aircraft Maintenance Engineering Certificate is
Okay.
license. This is given. Once this is certified, then only they can go on type rating and they can endorse and they can sign the aircraft. They are called as a aircraft maintenance engineering.
So who gives the BAMEC degree?
Generally, regulatory body.
Regularly. So, in India, it must be DGC.
Yeah, in India it's a DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation.
Okay.
In outside countries like European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA also gives. Some India also there are some of the institutes have started giving the EASA by the approved certificates.
Okay. So, basically, you may be a qualified aeronautical engineer or some other mechanical engineer. You cannot simply start working
Yes.
on the aircraft nowadays.
Yes.
You have to undergo this minimum license before you are allowed to certify the aircraft.
Yes, very true,
So,
sir.
what is required in clearing BAMEC? If I am a student,
Yes.
I want to clear BAMEC. How much time does it take? Is it 2 years, 3 years?
Basically, laid down schedule is around 2,400 hours, including practical. So it comes under the modules they have to clear, the subjects. They call as the modules over here. Some specifically B1.1 categories are there. They have to clear 13 modules. Whereas in B2, if you are considering, there are 11 modules. So basic module specifications are there. They have to complete as per the module laid down. Generally, 8 modules are common for mechanical as well as avionics.
Okay.
Rest all modules are specific modules, means specific category. Heavy aeroplane will be having specific category, avionics will be having specific category. They have to clear the module exam with 75% of marks. That is very important area over here. Not 74%, even 75% they have to secure.
75 and above.
Above only.
And these exams are held after what frequency?
Frequency after every 3 months, regulatory body conducts the exam.
Okay.
But there are again specification, they have only 3 attempts. Within 3 attempts only they have to clear.
If they don't clear, then
they have to wait for 1 year for next cycle.
Oh. So that means there is no fixed timeline. Like in BTech, we say you can become an engineer in 4 years generally.
Yes.
But here you are not sure.
Yeah, and within 10 years they have to complete.
Okay.
But if they are not able to complete this all modules within 10 years, again they have to do the fresh.
It's very tough. So getting an entry into aircraft maintenance stream itself is regulated.
Yes.
And carefully monitored by DGCA.
Right, sir.
There are modules, you have to clear each module, and that too you said some are common to various streams,
yes.
some are specific to your stream.
Yes.
And you have to clear them. It's very interesting. It's very different from other examinations
Right, sir.
or other degrees. Okay. Now, so once you get a BAMEC, you can maintain any aircraft?
No, they have to undergo specific type training also then. If they have some airlines, some they are having Airbus, some they have the Boeing, A320, 777, 747. So specific, first they will go in one type rating aircraft.
I think Mr. Chawla had mentioned that he has worked on different aircraft.
Yes.
Maybe you can throw some light, sir. On, let's say you acquired your first license on maybe 707. After that, how much time and what is the procedure to get another license on 737 or something like that?
Well, after getting my first license on the engines of the 707 Boeing aircraft, the Pratt & Whitney engines, I had to, it's called a cooling period.
Okay.
In normal lingo terms, wherein you had to work with your own hands and learn about the new type of aircraft for at least a period of 6 months.
6 months.
So once you had the experience of 6 months to a year, then the airline would permit you, when they were confident you could handle the aircraft alone, they would permit you to go in for additional qualifications, like say on the airframe or engines of a 747 or a 737 aircraft.
So again you have to attend some classes?
Yes, we have to again attend classes and again have some on-job knowledge, again work under supervision. So until those criteria are fulfilled and we pass the minimum exam level of 75% marks, where we are allowed to appear for the exams and go ahead for a Viva exam in front of the DGCA regulatory body.
Okay. And this is how you acquire licenses in different aircraft, different systems, like from airframe, engines.
Correct.
Okay.
So we have to appear for engines and airframe on one type of aircraft, or engines only in different types of aircraft, then back to airframes on other types of aircraft. So depending on the type of the fleet in the airline, we were asked to move from one airframe or engine to the other airframe or engine, depending on the requirement by the company.
Okay. Alright, so let us move on. We have discussed enough about the methodology and the procedure to join the field of aircraft maintenance. As you must have realized, it is not a straightforward thing, like enrolling in a college and then you just pass some exams. At the end of some 3 or 4 years, you are sure to get your degree. Here, it depends upon your expertise. You are having a Viva with a qualified DGCA instructor who can ask anything about that aircraft.
Yes. Right.
And you need to be on your tips, you need to know.
Correct.
So, Mr. Bahadur, can you share some experiences on some situations or some examinations where maybe you missed out or you could not clear because of some silly thing you did not know?
Yes. In fact, in my career, when I started at Patna, the chief engineer over there at that time, he asked us, 4 or 5 students over there, to make a Tiger Moth aircraft right from scratch.
Oh.
And we then went through the Tiger Moth aircraft is a composite aircraft because it's got wooden structure as well as metal structure. So we had the complete, just the shell of the fuselage, and then we made it. And we were totally involved in making the whole aircraft. Then I appeared for the exam
Okay.
on that aircraft. I passed the theory. But after that, what Mr. Chawla has just said, that there is a viva.
There is a viva, yes.
I thought in my own mind at that time that I have made this aircraft, I know everything about it. And in that viva, the examiner asked me one question which I couldn't answer. So I failed in that exam.
Okay.
And I was the most shocked person over there, that how could I not know this? He asked me about trimming of the elevator
Okay.
in the Tiger Moth and the way in which you will do it. And I fumbled over there, and I was not hot on it at that time.
Okay.
So I failed in that exam, and then I realized that is a very great learning experience, that you must never have overconfidence in yourself. There is always something more to learn on any subject of your expertise.
Yes.
And then I prepared myself again, and we used to get 2 attempts at that time
Okay.
in Viva. So in the next attempt I passed, and
quickly.
my license was endorsed.
So even though you built the aircraft with your friends, still one practical question or one
I
tricky
couldn't-
question you couldn't
Yes,
answer.
yes.
I think this is very unique, because this doesn't normally happen in other courses.
Yes.
Yeah, let me interject here.
Yeah.
For example, the one key question. In those days, we used to have a panel of 2 or 3 examiners asking us questions, you see. And one of the very strict examiners often used to have fun by asking, which is the most important bolt in an aeroplane?
Oh,
So you used to say, okay, the landing gear bolt or the bolt holding the engine, that's the most important. You
Yeah.
say, no. Whatever you say, they'll say no.
okay.
So finally, they used to smile and say, the missing bolt. That's the
The
most
missing bolt
important.
is most important,
Most
because that
important.
causes the problem.
One more thing I would like to narrate over
Yes.
here, sir. They are very true, Chawla sir and Bahadur sir, as per their experience. That's why the regulatory body has mentioned here that with memory they should not check. As per manual, what is written there, they have to follow. So with on expert and memory, I will go and directly I will check everything. No. With whatever is laid down, they have to again memorize and they have to check.
Yeah, you should be thorough with the laid down
Yes,
procedures, and
yes.
you should be able to follow it conscientiously.
Yes.
That is, I think, the hard,
Yes.
because
Ah.
that is how mistakes are avoided.
Mistakes are avoided.
Otherwise, if I get overconfident, I may take a shortcut, and it could become a disastrous situation.
Yes, so that
No,
is why the
even-
life of an aircraft maintenance engineer is so structured. He is brought up in a structured manner.
Yeah.
I cannot deviate from this point to this point. I have to be within these limits only. It goes off into your personal life.
Okay.
So much so in your personal life that you know whatever you do in your personal life is also dictated by coming up in a structured manner.
So you become very
So
systematic.
you become so systematic in your own personal life that it's almost like having an aircraft check, and your own life is almost the same.
One
Sir,
more
you were
thing,
saying something. Yeah.
in the whole maintenance of the aircraft, as you say that it is very structured, so any schedule that is to be performed on that particular aircraft in maintenance work, it is all laid down. You will get a 3-4 page sheet booklet which will be kept on the table, and all the items that you have to do will be written over there, and you have to perform that item and you have to sign against it. So the whole sheet has to be completely filled up. That means all the items have to be covered. Even though you have done that job maybe 100 times, still you have got to go by that book, go by that sheet, and go by each and every item one by one every time. You cannot go by memory kare maine kar diya wo cheez. This cannot
It
happen.
doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work by memory.
Yes.
Okay.
Even in flying, sir, because I have experience as a flight engineer also. Every aspect of the flight, there is a checklist. No matter how experienced you are in the board, you may have done 10,000 hours or something, but you will follow that checklist. Before start checklist, before taxi checklist, before takeoff checklist, all checklists are laid down.
That is the beauty of a checklist,
Yes.
because you will not overlook anything
Mistakes,
unintentionally
Yes.
or out of habit. Okay. So, Chawla ji, I'd like you to clarify. Kulkarni ji mentioned that there are various schedules of maintenance. He mentioned something like check A, B, C, D. So, could you just throw some light on what is this A, B, C, D?
Okay. These checks are defined, like you said, by alphanumerical categories, and Most the checks with the least amount of categories are your line checks, which are when an aircraft lands, it comes into a park, and you do a transit check.
Okay.
It goes off again. That's your
Between
transit
two
check.
flights.
Between two flights is a transit check. Subsequently, after 3-4 landings, it accumulates some hours of flying. You come to the first check, that is A check. Then as the A checks multiply, it comes on to a B check. As the B checks multiply, it comes on to C check. Now, as these number of checks multiply, you end up with having a longer grounding time for the aircraft. So these longer grounding times means that the aircraft doesn't fly so much, but it spends more time, preferably in the time it is not scheduled to fly.
Okay.
So there the programming of the scheduling of the aircraft comes in a lot, where the programming of the flights and the scheduling of the checks are married together. So the grounding time is the least, because an aircraft makes money only when it flies.
Exactly.
So these alphanumerical checks are combined to be done in isolation or during transits or maybe in night halts or maybe in a hangar where the checks are C checks and D checks and above.
Okay, so check C and check D is only in a hangar.
In only
Preferably
Fully
in the
equipped
hangar,
hangar.
yes,
Yes,
the
sir.
hangar only.
And what you said is that higher the letter, so check C will need more time for the aircraft to be grounded
Correct.
compared to check A.
Correct.
And I presume the number of activities to be performed will also be more.
A lot
Yes.
more.
More elaborate.
A lot more. More elaborate. It involves up to stripping of the full aircraft.
Okay, so what is the highest check?
The highest check so far what we have is a D
D
check.
check.
Check D.
Delta.
Okay, delta. After that, maybe after 2-3 delta checks, you may have to retire the aircraft.
No.
Oh no.
No.
How many check Ds can an aircraft do in the career?
Actually, theoretically speaking, the number of checks it is like it's not counted.
Okay.
The R's and the number of D checks, they can keep on going as long as you have no findings.
Okay.
Even if you have some findings, you can rectify them, and theoretically the aircraft can last you a full lifetime of your own lifetime.
Okay.
We've had aircraft which are still flying a DC-3, a Dakota.
Mhm.
It's still flying after 80 years of being made in the before the Second World War.
My God.
You have a 707 Boeing aircraft which is still flying after 50 years of being manufactured. The Boeing 747 has been flying for such a long time, and only now are the aircraft are being retired. It came in the first in 1960s, and today after 60 years is being retired.
Yeah.
Because
that-
they got more fuel efficient aircraft.
Yeah, that retirement is because of other reasons, like it
Other
is not
reasons,
making money.
not for technical.
It is not able to make money because it consumes more
Yeah.
fuel. Maybe the parts are not available, so
Yes.
you have to scavenge,
Yes.
Correct.
or you have to, customize them or something. I
Right.
agree.
Yes,
I
yes.
agree with it. So as the aircraft becomes old, even for cars, etc., we have the same situation. We don't get the spare parts.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Now, as a passenger, sometimes we hear an announcement saying that your flight is delayed because of some issues, and when you inquire, they say there is a maintenance problem. Now, an airline, as you said rightly, would like to keep the aircraft flying as far as possible because it makes money when it flies.
Yes.
But from safety issues, it has to be, flight worthy.
Yes.
And therefore, so there is always this kind of a dilemma, whether, so are there certain procedures followed to ensure that up to so much we can allow maintenance can be delayed? Is there something like that? So
Yes.
Yes.
Each of the aircraft manufacturers has his own procedure set up to ensure that the safety of the aircraft is not compromised and the aircraft can continue on a series of flights. Now, this provision is there given by the manufacturer in the form of an MMEL, Master Minimum Equipment List.
okay,
EL.
MEL,
Yeah.
Master Minimum Equipment List.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, from here, the airline chooses a minimum equipment list.
Oh, below that.
Yeah, below that. So the MEL is a list of items which may be inoperative for a certain period of time and which does not affect the safety and security of the aircraft or its components.
So, just a minute. Do you mean that 3 airlines which fly the same aircraft, they may have different MELs?
I can give you an example on that.
Okay.
For example, you have your communication system. You have a VHF,
Yes.
very high frequency radio system.
Correct.
Now, airline A may say, I want all my 3 VHFs, VHF 1, 2 and 3 must be functioning throughout. no relaxation,
Okay.
because that's the pattern they fly on.
Okay.
Airline B might say that, okay, out of 3 we must have 2 to be serviceable. We'll accept one is not working. That's again because of the way it is flying over. It's flying less over the sea.
Oh, okay.
It's flying more over land. So you have the luxury of having one aircraft with a bad serviceable unit of the very high frequency radio. At the same time, other airline will say, no, we want it. We want it serviceable. So this MEL is catered for the airline to decide what they want serviceable and what they don't want serviceable without affecting the safety of the aircraft.
But Mr. Bahadur, doesn't the regulatory body like DGCA come in and say, you cannot have this MEL, you should have more than that?
Normally, DGCA will not interfere in this for the simple reason that the main MEL is the master MEL, master maintenance equipment list, is issued by the manufacturer.
Correct.
So Boeing company will issue its own, Airbus company will issue its own. That is the master. From there you choose which one you want to be applicable in your airline, whichever airline you are there. So once you have chosen that, then you have got to get it approved by the DGCA.
That's what. It has to be approved.
It has to be approved by the DGCA. And DGCA will not normally question this thing because it is your airline and you are just following what the manufacturer has allowed you to have an unserviceable item in the aircraft.
Yes.
So whether you have got X number of items unserviceable or Y number of items, it is allowed by the manufacturer. So your regulatory authority will not normally object to that. It is your own airline, that particular airline's philosophy, which they are following and which they have, but it has to be approved by the DGC.
Okay.
I would like to add on something.
Yes, please.
MEL, minimum equipment list, it is prorogued. Once it has been prorogued, that is it not necessary that it continuously. Again, once it is aircraft is landing, it has to be changed because it will affect the safety. So it is defined what exactly the parameters, how many hours it is. It is all laid down as per the regulation only. It's we have to follow all protocols. MEL, once it is prorogued, then again it has to be checked how much time duration it is. It is restricted is there. It's not that MEL is no. It is restriction is also given as per the requirement.
Okay. So basically, as you mentioned right in the beginning, every activity in aviation is regulated,
Yes.
approved, and it is operated by only licensed or qualified people.
Right.
People certified to operate and to
Yes.
work on that.
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, are there any instances when, because of maintenance problems,
Yes.
we have to offload passengers or offload cargo?
Yes.
So maybe, Mr. Kulkarni, we can start from you.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Some of the major airlines, I will not specify the name. There are the situations occurred due to some, suppose like there is cargo doors are there, warning lights comes in the cabin. So this is not so. It should come light exit door. Exit light is not there. So passengers cannot be evacuated. So suppose in MEL it is mentioned that with this light off also aircraft can go. But suppose that light is not coming and then passengers, one exit door is not serviceable. As per that light is not, door might be serviceable but the light is not coming. So pilot tell that this to the, it is AME that this light is not coming. So aircraft is landed at one station, it has to go to the other station. So that time suppose there are some 300 passengers, but with it's clearly mentioned in the MEL. MEL has been prorogued, but MEL says that with this only 270 passengers can go. That door is unserviceable. So that time 30 passengers has to be offloaded. It's been done in the. They have to be there in the station. They will go for the next aircraft.
Now that is happening. See,
Yes.
sometimes we have seen that you are requested to offload,
Yes.
and we don't understand why, because we have just come in one flight,
Yes.
nothing has happened, and after the second one you are asked to offload. So this may be the
Yes.
reason.
And MEL is.
Raji, do you want to add something to this? Any example you may have of
Yes,
offloading?
I do know about. Now, aircraft norm is designed to fly very comfortably and the most efficiently above 35,000 feet.
Right.
But it has to maintain the passenger cabin's pressurization. The outside and inside pressure differential should not exceed 8.1 or whatever the parameters are set for that particular type of aircraft.
Yeah.
Sometimes what happens is that these air conditioning is given to you by the air conditioning packs, and they pressurize the aircraft. You have 3 of these packs, what do you call packs, and there are 3 of these systems. And if one is not working, the aircraft cannot fly to that level or that height. If it cannot fly to that height, it has to fly at a lower height. If it's flying at a lower height, it's going to consume more fuel. So when it's going to consume more fuel, you're making the aircraft heavier by adding more fuel for that to complete the trip between, say, Delhi and Bombay. Now, if you're doing that, that means if you carry more fuel, you carry less payload, which is cargo or passengers will be less. So that penalty comes in. So that is also an MEL for you.
So this is something that the passengers may not come to know.
Yeah.
As you said, some cargo may be necessarily offloaded, or
Correct.
maybe some passengers have to be offloaded because the aircraft cannot fly to the desired cruising altitude due to some issue with an instrument.
Yes.
But it is coming under MEL, so therefore flight is possible.
Flight is possible.
But it is a restricted flight.
Correct.
Okay, fine. So, these are some insights which normally we don't get to know.
There is, if I may just interject in this, not directly related, but what happens is that the environment from which the aircraft is taking off, it's got certain pressure, certain density, and certain headwind.
Winds.
So, what happens is that the jet engine will give you a certain amount of thrust depending upon the temperature which is existing outside. So normally what happens, the airline will schedule an aircraft, especially in a region like India, in a cool atmosphere. That means if it is in the height of summer from Delhi, you will want to take off your aircraft for maybe London at 3 in the morning.
When it is very cold.
When it is very cold.
Yeah.
Now what happens, aircraft is scheduled to take off at 3 in the morning. There is a snag that comes on the aircraft and it gets delayed. Once it gets delayed, then as far as passengers are concerned, they are kept happy because we already served them breakfast. But then what happens, it gets more delayed. And then the sun rises. Sun rises, the temperature rises.
Goes up.
Every degree that the temperature goes up, 1 ton of cargo has to be offloaded. Because the aircraft cannot take it. It's a full load aircraft, full fuel.
So it's 1 degree costs 1 ton of payload to the airline.
Yes.
If you delay it more, let's say by 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, then you may have to go with some 8 or 9 tons less.
Yes.
And that can hit the profitability.
Yes.
These are the issues in operations which really, so I mean there is so much pressure. So do you, when you operate an airline, do you have the luxury of keeping lot of spare parts so that such things don't happen?
We do have the luxury of keeping spare parts. However, let's keep in mind that all this is capital intensive. They're all very expensive parts. So what we indulge is in something called pooling of parts.
Pooling of parts, okay.
So I may pool my parts, spare parts. Say I keep about some engine spares in my station, and another airline coming in my station keeps some airframe spares, and we lend to each other as required.
Oh, but you will be competing in the market,
I'm
but still
competing
you
in the-
help each other.
Yes, we will help each other.
Oh, okay.
We are not that devilish not to help each other.
Okay.
We'll compete with passengers and the routes, but
Okay.
in case of emergency, we'll help out each other.
Because you know that tomorrow you may need some help.
Obviously.
So that means you are very friendly with the
Yes, yes.
maintenance engineers in the rival airline.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So the commercial people are
Yes,
fighting, but the engineers are all very pally.
And in defense, I would like to add on.
Yes, yes.
Some of the aircraft, intentionally they are on the aircraft on ground.
AOGs.
They cannot
AOGs.
get spares from that particular aircraft which is manufactured outside directly.
Yes.
So specifically some of the aircrafts they will keep on aircraft on ground, so that if any serviceable aircraft during that period, they having some like MEL is broke, like some aircraft, so that component can be taken up from that same aircraft.
Yeah,
and
I
can
know. Based on my experience in HAL, I realized there were
Yes.
many airframes kept ready for
Yes,
scavenging.
scavenging.
So we were told if you don't have this part in the store, you can scavenge from an existing part,
Yes.
and we would take approval from the.
Yes, yes.
So there the regulatory body was CRE, Chief Registered Engineer's Office, which comes under SEMILAC. So, but of course I agree. So yeah, but what you see, in defense, you have large fleets generally.
Yes.
And if there is a major problem with the engine of an aircraft, you have
Yes.
to anyway keep it till it comes.
Yes.
So you can scavenge the other parts. Do you have the same thing in the transport aircraft also? That some aircraft is kept for scavenging?
No, we don't really like to keep an aircraft for scavenging for the simple reason in commercial terms, aircraft flying makes money.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive and we don't cannibalize on parts as far as possible. And this is simply not available anywhere. Then we have to ground an aircraft to take one part off
And
just to
then-
make one other aircraft fly.
No, but it happens sir, that suppose an aircraft is going for departure and another aircraft has come in and it's going for maintenance. And you have got some item, maybe a fuel control unit or some item, electronic item let us say, which is unserviceable in the aircraft, which is just going for
A
service.
flight.
Then you will immediately, if you do not have it as a spare with you in your stores, you will take it from that aircraft which has just come in and which is going for schedule.
Yeah, because that will stay in the hangar for maybe another
So
2
you
months.
just take it from there, put it and let this aircraft go.
And later on you can refurbish it.
Yes.
So this is a very interesting thing. So these decisions have to be also taken by the chief of maintenance or
The shift in charge generally
the
takes
shift
this
in charge.
decision.
Also, I would like to know, you have all been maintenance engineers, some in the defense and civil, some in civil. You normally work in shifts as a maintenance engineer.
Yes.
Correct? So it's a job where you may have a night shift. So do you have regular rostering in the night shift?
Yes.
Chawlaji, what is your experience?
We have regular rostering and those rosters are defined not only by HR but also by the medical team
Okay.
and by regulations based on DGCA and EASA and IATA, that's the International Air Travel Association, and all the regulatory bodies of the world combined come together. And there's in the medical field there's a specialty called the aviation medical specialists. So they study all the details about the cardiac rhythms, the rhythms of the body and the time effects and the time zones. So our rosters are made as per the requirements which do not disturb your sleep rhythm patterns and your attentivity patterns.
Okay.
Because you have to live in the present, you cannot afford to let your mind and thoughts drift away. You have to be alert all the time. So you have to get adequate rest after each shift that you do.
What about in the defense?
Defense also following the shift wise because any time aircraft can fly. The night shifts are also there, morning shifts are, early morning shift they are called as early morning. It is a preparatory time is given, sometime reportings are 4:45. But they work in a shift wise also because one person cannot continuously work. So morning and night, especially night, it goes around beyond to 12 also.
So professionally, the life of a aircraft maintenance engineer involves all these kinds of adjustments.
Yes,
Normally it is a maintenance is a 24-hour round the clock work.
on the clock.
So you are working somebody or the other in shift work. Sometimes you are working in morning shift, sometimes in the afternoon shift, sometimes in the night shift, and you keep on rotating. So once you get into that pattern, you are fine.
You are used to it. You get used to it eventually. But you may be on call any time. So if let's say if you are a specialist in one particular area, and if there is you are at home at rest, but there is a problem, and that the gentleman or the lady who is dealing
Yes.
cannot, they'll call you.
Yes, sir.
So then you will have to rush to the airport, and sometimes you may have to even go to some other country or some other location. Has it happened to you?
Yes, we used to often get a distress call from some other airlines who didn't have the expertise or our own aircraft which needed to be attended to, and we used to get ready, packed and fly off. If there's an unfortunate incident where the aircraft couldn't take off due to whatever reasons, and when it is applied the brakes or the wheels burst, so and there was an engine change, so we used to get a team immediately ready and fly down from say Mumbai or Kochi to a distant land in Africa. There was a time zone and temperature zone and weather conditions differed, so we used to feel and get acclimated to it at a very fast rate.
Okay. So you will pack the equipment required by them, take
Yes.
some crew with you who are qualified to do
Correct.
that, go and address their requirement.
We'll address the issues, address the requirements, make sure the aircraft is safe again to fly, and put it back in the air.
Okay. Acha, okay.
Not only that, in maintenance, many times you, in the course of your work, you will come across a situation in which you have, say, reported for the afternoon shift, and your counterpart in the night shift has reported sick and has not come.
Yeah.
Then you have got to continue.
Continue with that shift.
Continue for the night shift also. And if you enjoy your work, although it is no doubt it's a
It is hard work. It is hard work.
strenuous,
It is strenuous.
but you enjoy the work and you are willingly do it.
No, see, the thing is, you develop some affinity also towards your organization. You realize that there is a requirement. It's an unfortunate, it can happen to anybody. So therefore, it's all a matter of give and take. But then I had a question regarding redundancies. Now I hear so much about the safety issues.
Yes.
So one is that by experience you come to know which item regularly needs to be replaced, and I think even the OEMs will also tell you how much to stock each item. But when you say that we maintain sufficient stock of an item, or fast moving items, if there is a shortage or if there is a shortfall because of some reason, what is interesting thing you mentioned is that you can borrow from another airline, sometimes from an existing aircraft. But what is the inherent, like say, what about the redundancy in tools?
Okay.
How do you maintain that?
Redundancy in tools, of course, we have a separate tools nowadays that address the issue. And one of them is we collect a lot of data by means of trend monitoring.
Okay.
The trend monitors give us alert values when we can think we should avoid a preventive maintenance by carrying out certain activity.
Okay.
So I will change an item before it fails.
In anticipation.
In anticipation of failure.
Because of the past.
Because of the trend activity of that item.
Okay.
And secondly, nowadays there's so much of artificial intelligence that has come into the field. However, I would use this with caution, because artificial intelligence is yet to mature into being a very good tool for us. It's good for predictive maintenance, but not yet totally defined. For example, I'll give you an example right now. Someone typed out in one AI algorithm about George Washington, and the picture put up in the net was of a black man. Well, George Washington wasn't a black man.
Yeah, correct.
So these things are still to be ironed out. The finer aspects of our AI and VR and ML have still to be ironed out.
No, moreover, your profession is so safety critical.
We cannot.
You cannot take a chance.
They have to be proven.
Yeah, they cannot be.
So unless they are proven, we cannot go into them. So we still rely on algorithms.
No, they can be tools which can give you suggestions, which can give you some hints.
Correct.
But ultimately, it is only the experienced person who will take a call.
Yes.
Correct.
If you depend on AI ML for decision making in case of a safety critical system, it can be disastrous.
Yes.
But in the layman's language, so here we are mentioning bonded stores and all. Components are already procured over there. Even the tools are already procured. What is required for the specific aircraft, it is already bonded. Like for that also team is working. It's not that only AMAs are working. For this also store planning section works. They plan it properly, sir. Suppose someone aircraft, there has to be minimum components, equipment should be there in that store so that it should be available if something goes wrong. Like in the troubleshooting wise, they will come to know which are the major components which goes regularly faulty. So that should be available in the store so that if some problem arises, that it can be quickly taken up.
So, can you explain the concept of bonded? Maybe you can do that, Mr. Babu. What is meant by a bonded store? How is it different from some other store?
Bonded store is that store in which every item that is there inside that store is a certified item.
Okay.
It is manufactured. That certified item means that it will have a card attached to it showing that it is serviceable. That means it has to be signed also by somebody who has certified it. So a part of the aircraft or a component of the aircraft, even a nut or a bolt, that also has to be certified. And all these things are kept inside a particular room which is the bonded store. So you cannot allow any item to go inside the bonded store which is not certified, and you cannot also issue an item from the bonded store which is not certified. So you will issue, and it is very meticulously kept and very meticulously recorded. So suppose you have got, say, 10 items of a particular size in one particular box, and you have used, say, 5 items. Now, if you know that I need 10 over there, that means now 5 have gone from there. So you will immediately raise a request
For 5 more.
for 5 more to come in over there, and this is done by a special qualified storekeeper, a person who is qualified to do this work, because he has not only to maintain that bonded item in the respective place. It cannot be haphazard anywhere. He will just punch in his book or in his computer now, and he will know where is the part, and he will bring it and give it to you.
Okay. It's something like a well-maintained library where the
Yes.
librarian knows which book
Yes,
is
yes.
normally where.
Absolutely like that.
Very nice example. What about bonded stores in the defense maintenance? Similar?
Similar kind of nature. They have to be specific for, because aircrafts are having some lives also. So as per that life also, they have to procure each and every, and there is some servicing wise schedule also. We cannot say that suppose 100 hours schedule. So they have to predict it. Now this aircraft is going for 100 hours. So for the 100 hours requirement is laid down. So the person should be given all this equipment, like even split pins, small pins, and we cannot use general split pin for this. Whatever specified as per the manufacturer, that pin only has to be put.
Correct. So it's a
So it
bonded
should be available in the store. So as Bahadur sir rightly said, if the 10 has been drawn and 20 is limitation, so that planning has to be done previously. In the defense also it goes in the similar manner.
So, sir, does it happen, Chawlaji, that an item has come to the store and it is not used for, let's say, 2 years? You have to throw it because life is over? It happens like that with aircraft parts?
Yes.
Aircraft parts need not be thrown away if not used.
Okay.
They can be recertified.
Oh, they can be recertified?
Yes.
So then there is some testing involved?
Yes. For
Okay.
recertification, there's a different process. And there can be a non-destructive test, or it can be a recalibration, or a recheck.
Okay.
So depending on the type of item which is required to be retested, the tests are done and then recertified.
But some items may actually have some shelf life, maybe some kind of adhesive or some...
Yes.
Yes, those are consumables.
Okay.
So consumables have a shelf life, after which they have to be replaced.
They have to be discarded.
They have to be
Discard.
disposed of in a scientific manner.
What happens to, let's say, aircraft wheels or tires?
Aircraft wheels or tires, again, depending on the type of rubber and that the OEM will tell you how to dispose of.
Okay, so the OEM will give you advance information that
Yes.
this tire has a shelf life of, say, 2 years.
Say 2 years.
After 2 years, you can't use it if
No.
it is not used.
No. So that will be
Yes.
sent back to the OEM.
Or we'll have to independently get it recertified by some testing agency.
That again, procedures defined to you. Everything in aviation is defined.
Very well laid out.
Very
It's very well laid out and
You
defined.
mentioned tires, sir. Tires is a special item which is there in the bonded stores, and that storekeeper over there, that he has got a specific task as far as tires are concerned, because if the tire is kept at a particular place for a prolonged period of time, the item which is on contact with the
Line
with
of
the
contact.
surface, it will get permanently distorted.
Yeah, it will get...
So he has got to keep on rotating the
Rotating.
tire inside the bonded store also,
Okay.
while it is inside the store.
Okay.
Because
And this he has to record also.
Okay.
because it's a very crucial item, because it's that only touches the air in the ground at first point.
Correct, correct.
So
And the whole
special,
aircraft
yes,
load
loads.
is on
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
So the tire is a very special
yes.
item. That we always say, landing
Yes.
gear, it is used only for about 1% or 2% in action. You know?
Yes. And in
But
general,
It's a very important.
very, very important item.
in general vehicle, what happen if the tire pressures and all, we charge more, we are moving on. But in air, we cannot charge that tire pressures also. And specific pressure has to be charged initially only. And there it is, once the pressure is charged, air has the tendency to leak out. In general vehicles, transport vehicle, we can every distance mile you will see to charge the tire pressure. You can get the opportunity.
Where do you get it?
But
In the
where
air?
and it is air is in the aircraft also it will leak. But certainly it has to be checked at each and every point. That has to be properly maintained.
So I have another query which I hear a lot about counterfeit aircraft parts. This is an area where sometimes we hear that some suppliers are there in the market. So can you throw some light on, is it really very prevalent, or what is your experience about it?
No, counterfeit, any item for that matter in the world, there's always a duplicate
Items
made.
available, yes.
And this kind of a duplicate industry is there everywhere. Only thing you have got to be very careful in aviation that any part that comes over there has to be from an authentic source. So you will have probably a manufacturer who is well known, who is authorized, and who is doing this work for a long time.
Yeah.
And you have dealt with him for a long time. If a part is coming from him and you have got it certified by him, you will say that it is not counterfeit.
Yeah, you can rely on
You
it.
can rely. But obviously, if you are going for somebody who is a new entrant into this field, then you will have to carry out extra checks and carry out probably that item which comes over there. You will have to subject it to some tests to see whether it is something wrong in it or not. But generally in aviation, it is very, very rare to have this kind of industry which is thriving for a long time. It will be caught, and it will be exposed, and it will be thrown out of business.
So, Chaloji, what is your experience? Have you come across any example?
No, frankly, I have not come across any example because thankfully the regulatory authorities are so alert, and our materials management and the supply chain people are so good that you can track down a counterfeit at any time. So this is not very prevalent in the aviation field.
Okay. Because if you look at the commercial market, vehicles, cars, etc., it's very common to get duplicate items,
Yes,
which
yes.
are very cheap, maybe 1/10, 1/5 the price. And sometimes we are lured,
Yes.
and there you are told, doesn't happen, doesn't matter, it will not
Yes.
make. But in aircraft you can't say it
No,
doesn't
you
matter.
can't, because
No.
the safety factor involved, counterfeiting becomes very difficult.
But suppose a company extracts parts from a crashed aircraft. So aircraft has crashed, so maybe it is unserviceable, but other parts are all okay, and it is rare.
So there is a system in the aviation industry is that you
It's
trace
checked.
you trace something back to birth system.
Okay.
So whatever you're installing on an aircraft has got dirty fingerprints on it.
Okay.
By means of dirty fingerprints, I can trace it back to birth availability. Where was it earlier?
Oh.
Trace back, and come down to a point where
Where is the
did
source?
it begin from? What
Source,
is the
huh?
source? So once you have the source, it is it's a genuine item. And secondly, like you said, a crashed aircraft items, generally we don't use items from a crashed aircraft. It's scrapped.
Okay.
A scrap is scrapped.
Okay. So if an aircraft crashes,
No, we don't
We
use
never
it.
use
Never.
any part
No,
from
we,
it.
we don't use.
Even though that may not be stressed, that may not be.
It may not be stressed, but it's a feeling that once you are using something, you might as well use a new part.
New part.
Any impact has occurred now over there. Suppose some
So
of
we
the
don't
components, some of the components we are removing also, that is O-ring seals are there. Even that is serviceable. In general transport, okay, it is okay, then we can. No, here it is not. You have to place that new seal, even if it is looking very serviceable one.
So Kulkarni ji, let me ask you a question. Since you have experience in both defense as well as in civil aviation, so what is the main difference you found in these two, in your experience?
There are a lot of differences. One major difference I will say, like civil aircraft, as common men, toilets are available, water waste systems are available. But in defense aircraft, pilot flies the aircraft, there is no such toilets and all that is one. And pressurization pressures here, because civil aircraft has to fly at higher altitude, and because of economical use. But fighter aircraft, they fly at lower altitude also, because it has to carry with the fast speed. Speed is maintained area.
No, but
major
my
area.
question is main about maintenance procedures. Are they roughly the same?
Roughly the
What
same,
do you
sir.
feel?
Roughly the same. But here it has been specifically mentioned. Out of schedule is, it comes under picture, oops, in defense aircraft. But here civil aircraft is as per the schedule mostly. Non-schedule also will come, but later on. But it will almost similar, like heavy landing checks. If you see the parameters of the aircraft, transport aircraft as well as civil aircraft, the laid down similars are same. They have to check all the landing gears, brakes, everything they have to remove. It is same process is there. Almost similar.
So finally, let us wind up now. I will ask each one of you once again anything that you think stands out in aircraft maintenance, which the common the common man should know, apart from what we have discussed. Is there something else you would like to add as we go? So, starting from Mr. Bahadur.
As far as aircraft maintenance is concerned, the guy who is doing the maintenance work on that aircraft has to have an approach and attitude that any unforeseen thing can happen, not planned. Although work on an aircraft is planned, very well planned, from well before. But something which has not been planned can happen at any time. And I'll give you an example. I was a flight engineer on an aircraft taking off from Mauritius, going to London.
Okay.
And we were taking off from Mauritius. Aircraft took off, and after takeoff, we had a emergency. One hydraulic system completely failed.
Okay.
And lot of confusion and lot of warning signs in the cockpit, and we came back and landed. Fortunately, the gear came down and we landed. After landing, I was a flight engineer. I went down immediately to see Baba, kya ho gaya?
What is the problem?
The nose wheel area was full of hydraulic fluid. And what had happened was that during the takeoff, the wheel is spinning. And if your takeoff speed is say 150 miles per hour, the wheel is spinning at that speed. And when you retract the gear, the nose wheel doesn't have any brakes. So it goes up, and there is a pad, friction pad attached to the nose wheel where that wheel goes and it's made to stop. During that process, the tread of that wheel was separated.
Okay.
And those rubber parts went and hit the hydraulic line and punctured the hydraulic line.
Oh.
And this happened in the flight. So the maintenance man over there had to immediately clean the whole place up, repair that pipe, remove the pipe, bring a new pipe, fit pipe. So that is all the maintenance guy had to do. It was totally unanticipated.
Yeah, it is.
And these unexpected things can happen at any time, you have to be prepared for it mentally.
Okay. What about Chawlaji? Do you want to add some last point as we go?
My last point is just that aviation is not a science. It's a miracle. Come and join it, fall in love with it, do it.
Wonderful. Kulkarni ji?
Yes, I would like to same narrate over here. Aircraft maintenance is a very critical job to keep the aircraft in airworthy state. One thing Chawla sir has mentioned about AI, artificial intelligence, it will come, whether it should come into picture, because suppose walk around inspection is being done as per the manual, we follow the protocols. Yeah. But I would suggest that some device should be given to them, AI should come into picture, he should move around with the camera, as that point has been checked, point to point, so that it has been intervention that okay, that point has been thoroughly checked. So that will enhance the aircraft maintenance if the AI interfere here in between.
Okay, so you are advocating more application of AI and some tools to do it. Okay. All right, so we had a long discussion today in which we tried to cover the various unique aspects of aircraft maintenance. We began by comparing it with maintenance of vehicles on the ground. And slowly our panel members who are expert in this field, by virtue of their training as well as their experience, vast experience, we touched upon various challenges that are faced in maintaining an aircraft so that passengers like you and me have a safe and uneventful flight. Thank you so much for being with us today, and I really want to thank sincerely the panel members to come over here and to interact with me today. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, sir.